Hey guys, what is up? My name is Thomas Park, and today we're doing a comparison between two video games. One being Dead Cells and the other being Death's Gambit. Now, Dead Cells has been in early access for quite a while, but just released recently, and Death's Gambit has also just came out, even though it didn't really have an early access period. So what's good about Death's Gambit? Well, Death's Gambit has very strong ability to convey an atmosphere. It has amazing graphics with a unique kind of pixel art style that really has depth to it, and the world building is excellent. You're gonna have that amazing soundtrack as well as cool level design, and the general feel of the game is very dark and moody, but also a bit kind of mysterious. The ambiance in this game and the general feel and tone of the game is really what make it a good game to experience. Not only that, but the boss fights and voice acting and everything like that just feels very polished and interesting and fun to play around with. Now, the game can be a bit frustrating in terms of the platforming elements. Sometimes spikes feel a little bit too fair, and there's even one corridor where it seems like it's impossible to dodge all the spikes due to them popping up so long in a line. You can't really dodge them. Additionally, some of the mechanics in the game, you walk out of a level and something attacks you immediately or pops out of nowhere. The game basically just plays like you have to memorize the level by trial and error. Not only that, but a lot of people have had complaints about how the levels are seemingly kind of pushing you to go certain ways and that you can't really go wherever you want because certain areas have much harder kind of enemies that you can't pass, and it's almost like a stop sign. Now, the game doesn't really have any map or anything like that, since the game kind of encourages exploration, and your own kind of memorized visual layout of the game is something required in order to progress through the levels. You're not going to have that map or any really kind of pointers showing you where to go, but the game does have pretty good gravestones which work as tutorials, kind of teach you some of the mechanics in the game. So the game is fairly punishing, and it can get a little bit repetitive after a while if you're having trouble getting past certain rooms, since you are going to lose a little bit of progress going on throughout the levels over and over if you can't get past certain parts. The game also doesn't really have a difficulty slider, so if you can't really get past or you get stuck at a part, that's pretty much too bad. Death's Gambit is a little bit different from Dead Cells, however, in that you kind of can ground these things called shards, which kind of make your character more powerful. However, as you move throughout the game and you kill more enemies, there are significant diminishing returns, and after a while it does get kind of grindy, and you can't just keep getting more and more powerful to make the rest of the game face roll. The game is very difficult, although a lot of people seem to be able to figure out how to progress throughout the game and beat it within a short time period, even without doing too much to their character. The game has inventory management with different items you could pick up along the levels, as well as stats like I mentioned before that you could improve to help your character's strengths progress. Not only that, but you could find unique magic items and things like that, as well as other items to kind of give your character more of that RPG feel. Now, let's talk about Dead Cells and how it compares. So what are Dead Cells' strengths? Well, I don't think Dead Cells really has as strong of an atmosphere or as good of music design as Death's Gambit. It doesn't have that strange, creepy, mysterious feel, and overall the game just feels super arcadey in my opinion. Now, that's not to say that Dead Cells isn't a good game. Dead Cells really excels in its combat and unique kind of hack and slash feel. Dead Cells has tons of items that you could get that have unique stats and properties, which makes the game almost feel like, in my opinion, a hack and slash kind of Metroidvania, Dark Souls light version of Enter the Gungeon. The game is based around this roguelike design, which means you're going to be going through the levels, lasting as long as you can, only inevitably going back to the beginning and starting over. You're going to be farming different kind of creature types in order to gain what are called, what are they called? They're like little blue circles, essentially. You're going to collect these circles to be able to purchase upgrades, like have more potions and keep some of your gold, or start off with a random item and stuff like that. So as you progress throughout the game, you die and you slowly get more of these upgrades. It's not necessarily giving you that much more of an advantage, but it is giving you a slight boost in the beginning to make the game not so annoying to start over. However, I would say that Dead Cells can be a bit more frustrating than Death's Gambit in this regard, since you do lose most of the progress after you die each run. It might be more of a harder game, but I actually found that Death's Gambit was quite hard as well. Now, Dead Cells does also have unique bosses and mechanics, but I didn't find that they were at the same level of epicness or gravity as in Death's Gambit, due to Death's Gambit's size and series of boss fights, just felt so cool. Dead Cells, I think, has more of the interesting interaction between small fights, and that you can just blaze through and chop up these monsters, and that's really fun, as well as some of the movement feels a little bit more consistent and reliable compared to Death's Gambit, which feels a little bit off sometimes. It's really easy to platform in Dead Cells because jumping, double jumping and stuff like that feels pretty good, as well as the weapons just being pretty reliable when you're using them. However, some of the swords in Dead Cells in the beginning, if you're not getting those kind of unique items, can start to feel repetitive, and making progress in the game can be a bit punishing, like I mentioned before, since you die so much. Now, Dead Cells does have a pretty cool art style as well. It's a little bit more mushy, maybe, with more pixel. It has the same kind of pixel idea, and there are some cool elements in the game, like all the cool little bottles and stuff, collecting all your rune pages and stuff like that, as well as interesting character creation types. But Dead Cells, I don't think, is as heavy hitting on the story or atmosphere as Death's Gambit. It's more of a hack and slash roguelike game, where you're kind of focusing on getting those unique items to make your run as good as possible. Anyways, guys, so that's a little bit of overview of both of those games. If you want a game that's more of like an RPG like experience with really good mood and atmosphere, as well as a sense of kind of mystery, then I think Death's Gambit is going to be a good game for you to pick. It has pretty solid gameplay mechanics and platforming as well, although it can be a bit punishing. Now, if you're more of someone who really likes going over levels and levels, same levels, maybe perfecting them each time, getting better as you go, and collecting more unique items with modifiers and stuff like that, and you don't mind losing progress, but you like more of that fast-paced action-y feel that feels a little bit more arcadey, then I think Dead Cells is probably a better option for you. Now, Dead Cells is $5 more expensive than Death's Gambit. Not only that, but Dead Cells does have mod support through the Steam Workshop, whereas Death's Gambit doesn't. You could add some unique modifiers onto Dead Cells, with a couple different mods, like giving you the ability to maybe make more enemies or lower the difficulty, but it's kind of glitchy since it really only lets you install one mod at a time, at least how I could get it working. You could either make more enemies or lower the difficulty, but I couldn't really do both, which would have been really interesting. Death's Gambit, on the other hand, doesn't have mod support, but it is $5 cheaper. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below between these two games that came out roughly around the same time. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you again on the next TimeSpark review video.